Let's move on now to the next topic. And the next topic comes to us from Martin Toole, who writes, Warner Brothers is making a Supergirl movie now? Really? We still have no word on a Man of Steel 2, but they're making a Supergirl movie. What's worse is that they've got the guy who wrote the Cloverfield Project, which just sucked. So, are they going to take the Supergirl TV show off the air? No, seriously, what the hell are they doing? All right, tell us how you really feel, Martin. All right, thanks a lot, Martin, for writing that in. So, for those who did not hear, it got reported yesterday, and this needs to be clarified here, because I had a bunch of people writing to me and says, John, they're making a Supergirl movie. Back up a little bit. No, there has been no official green light given to any kind of a Supergirl project. No Supergirl project is being made at this time. What has happened is that they're developing. Lots of projects go into development and often never see the big screen, never make it in front of the cameras. So right now, where they're at is that they're developing an idea. Whether or not it ever gets greenlit and actually is going to be put into motion and is going to be made a movie, that we don't know yet, but they're developing it. Lots of things get developed and never get made. So let's just keep that in mind for now. So let's not get too wound up here, Martin. Let's take a breath. Let's not get too wound up here right now. As far as the Cloverfield, that was horrible, whatever. But the guy's also written a couple of decent things, so I wouldn't worry about the writer. Right now, again, it's just development. They're just trying to see if they have something there that could work. And they want to get a script written, see what kind of ideas that triggers. Is this something that we think could actually stand on its own as a motion picture? It does raise some questions. Like, where the hell is Man of Steel 2? But what we could be seeing here is DC maybe moving more towards some of their auxiliary characters, like a Supergirl or something like that. I'll tell you what the big question mark for me is you made, if you're Warner Brothers, you made CW stop using Deathstroke in their CW universe. And Deathstroke, played by Manu Bennett, was one of the best characters in the CW universe. But because we might use Deathstroke in a movie, we can't let CW use Deathstroke anymore. And I've always been like, well, then what the hell is the point of keeping your movie universe and your TV universe separate if it's not to allow both sides to be free creatively to use characters? Like, if you're keeping your universes separate, why not let CW use Deathstroke? So my interesting thing here is what are you going to do with Supergirl now? I hate that show, but forget that for a second. What are you going to do with Supergirl? Are you going to pull Supergirl off the air? And if not, why don't you let CW use Deathstroke? I mean, there's a massive inconsistency here. Now, granted, I believe that inconsistency started before the Walter Hamada era at DC. And maybe Walter Hamada will put all this stuff straight. So granted, there's that. Now, for those of you who may not know, Man of Steel actually laid the groundwork for Supergirl in the Man of Steel prequel comic. Now, just before the release of Man of Steel, they put out like this primer comic to get you ready for the movie Man of Steel. And it's like, it was a little one-shot comic issue that was like a prequel to Man of Steel. In that comic, Supergirl, thousands of years ago, lands on Earth as a part of a Kryptonian exploration thing, right? So she lands on her ship. She crash lands on Earth on her ship with her and one other dude. And there was drama that went on the ship, but we'll get into that another time. So the ship crashes. She wakes up, and the comic ends with her waking up, going out of the ship, and walking off into the nothingness of the winter wasteland. And that's how the comic ends. And that was thousands of years ago. Now, fast forward to Man of Steel. You remember Man of Steel, Superman finds that ship buried in the ice. And remember, he goes into the ship and he finds two life pods. One pod with a skeleton in it, and one pod was open with nobody in it. For those of us who read that comic, we know that was Supergirl, who thousands of years ago opened her pod, got out, and wandered off into the wasteland. Now, ever since then, there have been theories that Supergirl became like the Eve if you will, of the Atlantean race or of the Amazonians or of which would explain why Atlanteans have superpowers or Amazon women have superpowers or whatever. There's all types of theories and everything that have gone around. Or that she herself just got buried in ice at some point, and at some point in the future she'd wake up. So it will be interesting to see if, as they develop this potential Supergirl movie, if they will build it on that mythology that they established in the Man of Steel prequel comic and then followed up with in Man of Steel with the Empty Pod, or whether they'll ignore that and just go a whole different route. Like maybe go a more traditional, maybe the route that the Supergirl TV show went, where she was actually launched to Earth at the same time as Kal-El, or whatever. It will be interesting to see what kind of direction it goes. It'll be interesting to see if this ever does actually get greenlit and put into a movie. For now, we're just kind of in a wait and see, and we'll see how this whole thing turns out. All right, let's move on now to the fourth topic.